Ohio gozaimasu. What's going on? Mason Cutler here, and welcome back to Airwaves. We got episode 2 coming up for you. Today, I got to chat with Melanie PENNYWILD Wildman. PENNYWILD. PENNYWILD is a dancer, a DJ, a choreographer, and an entrepreneur. I'm stoked for you guys to hear everything that she's been working on in this episode of Airwaves.
The Trust Industries Podcast.
Thanks for coming, and welcome to Airwaves.
This love, like money in the bank.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm excited.
Well, I'm having you technically because we're in my bedroom.
We're in Penny's bedroom. It's pretty colorful. There's a Hello Kitty that says sex on its forehead. We got West Side Story posters.
True. Correct. Indeed.
Tons of DJ gear.
Yeah. Thankfully.
Well, you have a gig tonight.
I have a gig tonight. Yeah. At the Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah. And how have they been going?
They've been good. Today isn't really a show. It's more of like a gig. I'm just playing music for a party. But the reason I got it was because I was connected with a dude that I have played actual shows for. So he hit me up and was like, I don't know if you normally do gigs, but would you want to do this thing? And I've never played the Roosevelt, so figured it was a cool opportunity.
And what do you mean like a gig versus a show?
So at a show, I would showcase what I'm working on, original music and original edits and some unreleased stuff. I would also bring on, like my dancers and have my visuals playing and sort of intertwined a bunch of different like mediums of art that I've been working on. Whereas a gig is more of a sort of contrived just playlist. It's like I'm still using my skills as a, live DJ and mixing live, but it's more catered to just like a house party vibe as opposed to like a PENNYWILD original experience.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's dope what you've been doing, kind of putting things together more with the dancing and the music and everything like that. But do you find that when you're gigging, it at least helps you like hone some skills and things like that?
Totally. I really enjoy gigging, and I don't have another job other than music and dance. So, so it's a really good way, number one, to just supplement income while still working and refining my skills as a DJ. Because there's a lot to be said for the art form of just DJing itself, just mixing and, music selection and technique. And there's a lot of different elements that make you a strong DJ. And at the end of the day, when I'm performing my live shows, like where my meat and potatoes are as an artist, what I really love to do includes DJing. So it's really good practice. And I also meet a lot of really cool people.
Yeah.
Because these events usually consist of artists,
Right.
And they'll usually approach me saying, hey, I love that song. What is it? And then sometimes, rarely, it'll be like my song. And I'll be like, oh, well, now I can just kind of seamlessly plug myself, to these quote unquote like influential people. But it's always really fun. The gigs are really fun and the shows are even more fun.
Yeah, it's got to feel good, like playing your own song in your own set and it starts, popping off or something like that.
Yeah, totally. Like I experience that a lot with edits because it's a song that I'll usually manipulate a song that people are familiar with, but I'll re-drum it or I'll, I'll do like a mix prior that I'll just have created beforehand so that it's seamlessly performed when I'm doing it live. And people will always be like, oh, I love this song, but I never heard this version. And it's cool to be like, oh, yeah, well, it's an edit I made of it, and here, go to this link and you can download it for free. So that's always cool.
Where can people find your music and edits and things like that? Like, do you have a website or a hub or something that you kind of post them on? Or
so the official releases are on Spotify, Apple Music, like Amazon and SoundCloud, but the edits that I know will be flagged because they'll have like a Drake verse in them or something, I put in a Dropbox folder that I share with like my friends.
Fly.
So, if anybody ever wants edits to DJ themselves or to just sort of put on a playlist, you can always DM me or email me.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I've always kind of wondered how it works because I'm like, learning so much about copyright issues and things like that.
Totally.
It's like I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's a
about-
fine line. It's like a slippery slope with the legality issues.
Yeah.
Even as I'm sure you may have experienced, although whenever you do freestyle and you dance, it's usually to your own music at this point, which is so cool. But I'm sure you might have experienced a video getting taken down from Instagram just because you were like freestyling to a song that you were listening to.
Right.
But it's cool when you can get those songs whitelisted from the label and then you're allowed to post it freely because you got like internal permission.
How do you do that? I've always wondered.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily have like the answer to that for every single track, but for specific songs, if you know someone at a label, like I have a really dear friend that has been able to whitelist a lot of popular music just because she sort of has like a contact there.
Yeah.
So I'll hit her up. Or a lot of times different networks, like I work with this company Dance On a lot.
I just did a video for them.
Yeah, you did it. It's like amazing. I love that video. And I told them last week and I saw them that was probably my favorite because it was part of a series called Artist Request, I believe. Mm-hmm. And that was my favorite. The one that you were in was my favorite one. But they're able to whitelist a lot of stuff, which has been a really nice, bonus.
Yeah.
They've been able to help out in that way.
Cool. Yeah. It was fun doing that video.
I know. I really, really enjoyed it. And I've been following Rye for years.
Yeah, they're so good.
They're so good. And I think on my Spotify Wrapped, 2017 Wrapped, they were like, I think it was one of my their song Last Dance was one of my top 5 songs that was played this year. And it wasn't even released in 2017. I'm late to the party. But yeah, they're really unique.
Yeah, the video is called Taste.
Yes.
This girl named Noelle Marsh choreographed it and basically invited me to do it last minute. And
Really?
It turned out to be like more than I'd expect. I was like, okay, cool. And there was like a little bit of acting element to it. And we actually shot it out in Topanga, like 5 minutes from where I live, which was crazy.
Was that on purpose?
No.
Wow.
No, it just happened to be at this place called the Mountain Mermaid, which is this wild house with the craziest history in Topanga. It used to be it was like a gay club in like the 50s or something crazy. And then it was like some like mob mafia type hub for a while that was like literally like a brothel in Topanga. And I was like, Topanga is the sleepiest town. Like I had no clue. It has all of this history that I just didn't even know about,
That's so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, the video, like just even the plot line of it really resonated with me. I was like, shit, I feel like I made this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Noelle's choreography was really, really innovative and just kind of encapsulated a lot of different things that I've been experiencing since I moved here. And yeah, I don't know her, but if I ever meet her, I'll tell her how much I liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Her choreography is intense. Like,
Yeah,
and she
it
was
looked
so
like
full out right from the beginning that I was like, okay.
Hell yeah.
So you want to do that?
Hell yeah. Did you rehearse on site or did you guys rehearse in a studio?
I came in like the night before and learned some partnering stuff because she was doing. If you check out the video, it's like a husband and wife type situation, and then there's another girl in the mix, and she's doing kind of intense partnering with the girl. That's my favorite choreographically.
Totally.
Some of those shapes that they're making
Absolutely.
are really cool. But yeah, just kind of hopped into it, and the next day we started shooting it. So it was literally just like, okay, here we go, and it turned out being really fun in that way because you were just like, you didn't have time to overthink it,
Yeah, totally. Well, it also seemed like there were a lot of things that were set in stone. There are a lot of like marks that you guys hit, but I saw that there was a little bit of room for like improv, especially the moments that sort of were just her.
Yeah.
I could tell that there were some like spontaneous, sporadic choices that were being made, which was cool. It didn't seem like super rehearsed. It was clean and it was tight, but it wasn't like, kickball change. It wasn't like too wrapped up.
Ironed out or something like that.
Yeah.
We got to go see the band a couple days after that. They played this live show of like all their new stuff basically. And I was mind blown. Like I haven't seen that many concerts in the past little bit just because I've been focused more on writing.
Right.
And I was like blown away. I couldn't believe it. Like with the strings and things like that. Like it just brings,
beautiful.
it's so beautiful. It just brought this element of like of just awe, you know.
Totally.
And it was such a small space, and they just had like little, you know, twinkling lights and stuff like that. And they played so quiet, I couldn't believe it. Like they would do these arrangements where they would start where it was literally just whispering. Like
Oh my gosh.
he was barely, you couldn't even hear what he was barely speaking. And then the guitar player would just be playing the lightest thing, and the whole arrangement would just grow to like this.
It's so delicate because what they make is so delicate, and it's very precious.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like they don't release anything unless it's the exact vision. Nothing is accidental with them. I feel like everything is very on purpose. And, you know, I think, and I'm definitely not the only person who felt this way, but when the first time I heard Rye, I was like, oh, this female vocalist is tight, you know? But there's something about the dichotomy almost of like him being, you know, a male and having this really soft, like luscious, sincere tone that sort of just strikes you in a way where you're like, oh, this is almost like a paradox, you know?
Right.
It's just, yeah, it's really, really special. Really special.
It was cool. We got to chat with him a little bit afterwards, and he was just geeking out about production stuff. I was like, tell me about this. And he was just telling me all about his, you know, his own process. And he's like, oh, you got to get one of these pianos and this and that. And he knew so much about that recording process. You could tell he was just a nerd about it. And it was so fun just to get to like geek out a little bit.
That's the best types of conversation.
Yeah.
Where it's just like passion spewing. You know, you can't speak fast enough. So
Just
sick.
talking about gear.
So shout out Rye.
Yeah, shouts out to Rye. Thank you for letting us do the video, and also letting us come see the show, because that was fun.
So sick.
Yeah.
So sick. I had like a sort of a similar experience fairly recently, because I got to shoot the visuals for Marion Hill's upcoming like tour. So it was a lot of B-roll, you know, like they brought me on as the choreographer and collaborator. So I hired my friend Kevin from New York, who's out here now, who's in Mean Girls on Broadway right now. He's killing it.
Hey.
But we got on set, and it was just a lot of like waist up, now waist down, now just your hands. Now here's this string that I want you to intertwine. So it actually ended up being like improvisational. I kind of scrapped everything that I had prepared when I got there, because I was like, this was not what I thought it was going to be. And then as a thank you for doing the gig, they were playing in LA at the Fonda a few days later. So Kevin didn't go. I brought another friend. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Quinn. But I got to see the show, and my visuals weren't integrated yet, because they were like wrapping up that leg of the tour, and then they were going to start using them for the festivals just to play in the back. And like you can barely see my face, you know, like you can see there's a shot of my face, but I'm kind of in silhouette. So it's really not about like FaceTime. It's more just about like the body language and the storytelling. But then I got to see their performance, and I was so blown away. And I wish we had gotten to chat with them, but they were so, you know, busy. They've gotten so big. They had like a lot. They had, you know, meet and greets and stuff. So I just kind of slipped out. But it was so cool to like work on a project with their team for their project, and then see it kind of come to fruition before your eyes a few days later, with all these cheering, adoring fans, you know, and just to think that you're like a smidge of a part of their work.
Yeah.
Is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. I feel like you in particular, you have that sense of being able to speak a lot of different languages, right? Like you obviously know the dance side of things, and then you're putting it together with all of your musical instincts. So it's like
you too.
Yeah, it's cool to see the ways that this is sort of, you know, blossoming creatively in ways that I don't think it necessarily has before.
Well,
you know,
it's so cool to think about too, because so you and I met. I think it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a little under 2 years ago. And immediately, because we met at the Kanye West Life of Pablo like movie screening in Woodland Hills. That mall. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody listening probably knows what that mall is. But I remember us going to PF Chang's after.
Yeah.
And then we had just met, so there was like a lot of ground to cover. Where are you from? What did you do? And we just like could not stop talking about these goals that we had. And we had this common goal of wanting to unite different mediums of art and use a platform to sort of like have everything coexist as one, and marry all these different skills and marry these forms of expression. But we kind of sounded like kids at a candy store in the sense where we were just like taking all these ideals and like throwing them out in the universe and being like, let's work on that soon this year. Let's start an event, which we ended up doing.
Yeah.
Let's, work on music, which we ended up doing. And now a few years later, we're definitely closer to like making that a reality.
Right.
We both have had these like other jobs and other lives doing things with dance and theater, respectively. And now we're sort of I'm watching us coming into our own as artists and saying things. Mm-hmm. I don't think we were able to do that before. It wasn't as accessible.
Right.
We hadn't really had the formula because there was no formula.
Right.
For something like that. And not only with you and I, but I'm seeing it a lot with other people. There was another dancer recently.
Jordan Ward?
No, Billy. Because Tim just shot this video with Cassandra, did choreo for it, and there was this dancer. I'm so embarrassed that I'm forgetting his name, but his name's Billy Grip. I don't know. He's a very, very like popular dancer, well-respected dancer, contemporary.
Yeah.
He was like on So You Think, and then he all of a sudden like makes music and like had this song that is called like Missing You or Miss You or something, and because Tim and Slater showed it to me because Tim had just released it, and he was dancing in it, but it was his music, his original music, and he was dancing like incredibly. It was like top notch. The choreography was amazing, and he's usually known as a choreographer, but here he was like in his element dancing, but dancing to his own music. So that was sort of taking the stage, that was taking the forefront, and I was like, this is a movement, dancers sort of coming into their own as artists, and I'm seeing more and more dancers write and make music. Like I've just been seeing them shoot video, direct, really speak, because so often we're just like props, we're decor. And I think people like sort of just woke up to that, and they were like, we can tell our own stories. So, I think you and I are striving for that. And there's a lot of other people that are striving for it, which is so cool. It's so cool to see dancers step into their own.
Right. I think I really feel that dancers are some of the most eager people, some of the most passionate people. And I think sometimes that gets taken advantage of, which can be kind of sad, because it's like, okay, we become sort of the Swiss Army knife of the entertainment industry, where it's like, okay, just have them do whatever you need to be done for next to no pay or whatever it is. Sometimes that can be a great thing, because dancers are usually so multi-talented that it's like, and so passionate that we can just jump in and make something work and create something, right? But sometimes I feel like it is taken advantage of to where, we get used in a certain way.
Totally. I mean, it strikes me, I'll put out an offer, I'll have a freelance gig, and I'll put out a few offers and emails, and I'll say what the rate is, and they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, I mean, I would have done it for free. I'm like, well, that's super sweet of you, but you don't need to. I mean, when I'm making my own passion project, when I'm just working for my own channel, my own material, sometimes I don't have a budget, and that's when homies will come in and do it for free, or, I'm certainly not paying myself, or a videographer homie wants stuff for his reel and will help out. But when it's a real job that a third party is sort of like handing off to you, it is really important to like speak up for what you deserve. And I think saying no actually really helps sometimes.
Yeah.
You gotta sort of fight for what you believe in and sort of stand your ground and say, if you're not going to pay me like day scale, no disrespect, but I just can't do it. And I've had people say that to me all the time, and I'm like, totally, that's great. I get it. I've
been trying to refer just to the Dancers Alliance stuff. Like,
yeah.
If I feel like, something isn't quite right, I just try and refer to the Dancers Alliance rates for, a music video or whatever it is someone's reaching out to me about.
People are shocked. I'll speak to, since I do music and I dance, I've been able to get a lot of job opportunities from like people in my music community that have said, we know you're a choreographer. They like don't know any other choreographers. You're a choreographer. Do you want to choreograph, this lyric video or this video? And then I share them, what like the SAG day rate would be to pay 8 dancers. And they're like, well, that's out of our budget. We can't do it. And I'm like, well, then we can't do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. Because I feel like it really does take people just being aware of those things, because we're so excited when we get these opportunities, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
And you just want that place to speak your creativity. So you're like, you want to run with it, right? But it's also like, looking out for the people who are working with you, working under you, working above, wherever they're working, just so that we can kind of stick together and make sure that dancers are respected for what we do give to this entertainment industry, which I think is so much more than people give us credit for.
Absolutely. And I think just being a freelance artist or being a freelance professional, period, warrants for a lot of gray area. How much should I ask for?
Right.
Doing rates always stresses me out because I don't want to scare anybody away with too high of a number, but I also don't want to sell myself short. And I also got to factor in what it's going to cost to rent studio space for rehearsal and what the rehearsal stipend for the dancer should be. And then overhead of, wanting to pay an editor a really nice amount so that he puts a lot of effort and care into it.
Right.
And then half the time I end up like not being able to afford an editor. So I just edit it. And then, I'm certainly not paying myself for that. And then that's just days and days of unrest for what?
Yeah.
So I've been trying to meet in the middle, I guess, with sort of label heads and directors and saying, I'm fine with paying myself bottom of the barrel, but I need to pay the people that I'm hiring the fair and square amount so that they do their best work.
100%.
And they can prioritize their life. If they got to take off a shift at the restaurant, then they better be making more than they would have at the restaurant.
Yeah. So
it's tough, but I think
if you want great dance, it's important that people are getting paid to do it, right? Like, without it, you're just not going to get the good dance that's out there.
No.
It's like if you want the best possible product for whatever you're trying to create, you want to be able to bring more people. People need to be able to make a living doing what you're asking them to do, right? So
totally. And I mean, that being said, there have been times where someone says, hey, we've got like $300.
Yeah.
What can you do? And depending on what it is, what the situation is, I always like to try to make something happen. So if it means instead of making it a video about 8 people, it's a video about 2 people.
Right.
And then, you give them a stipend and you got to work together and create together. And, it took a day.
Yeah.
So I try to scale it down to like a rehearsal or 2 if it's a really small budget. And I've also been, and I still haven't really exercised this yet, but I'm also really trying to say no to stuff that doesn't really move me.
Yeah.
It's hard though, because if you have a week you have free time, you always want to be busy. So you like to say yes so that you've got work to work on, even if it's not the biggest payment. But sometimes if a piece of music just doesn't really inspire you, or a concept just doesn't really inspire you, and that's what you have to stick to, sometimes it's better to just give it to someone else that really wants to do that.
Yeah. I think especially when you have other, creative projects going, like your music or whatever it is, I want to be able to live that ideal life of like always working on something I'm really inspired by,
Totally. I think you do a good job of that.
Thanks.
From afar, from what I see.
I say no to a fair amount of things so I can make more music and surf more.
You do.
Maybe to a fault.
No, I don't think to a fault. I mean, it's interesting because even things that I've offered to you, I kind of sense a pattern of what you're into and what you're not.
Yeah.
Like if it's a collaborative, exciting pursuit, where we're like mixing mediums or we're just freestyling and jamming, you would have done that anyway. You know, that's something that you would lean towards rather than like, hey, here's not much money for a lot of work and it's kind of like a random, company for like a stupid corporate, I think it's easy to tell what certain people will want to get involved with and what they won't. So I've after 2 years of having this pool of dancers, I sort of know who to turn to for what.
Right.
Now, I know who's down to jam and who's really good at freestyling. And then I know who's down to like, sort of scrape by and get scrappy with me and just sort of like rehearse all night and then like get paid not much. When those come along, it's cool to have sometimes younger people that are just kind of scratching the surface that just want experience.
Get some job experience.
But, it kind of all goes back. It's like this vicious cycle of, but do I even want to put people in that position?
Right.
So I think when it comes to that, I think we're learning every day. And I think we're all sort of just navigating what feels right and what feels wrong. Because when it's not in the car, like when you know when you should be getting involved with something or not. I feel like that's a guttural instinct most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Dope.
Yeah. It's so funny that we're sitting here doing this because we've had so many conversations about we've just had this conversation. Just like this podcast is just like even what we talk about on the phone. So it's funny now that, maybe a couple people will get to hear it too. And, I'm sure this probably reminds a lot of people of conversations that they have with like fellow friends and artists and stuff.
Yeah.
So
honestly,
it just feels natural.
That's exactly kind of what I want to do. I want to be able to just give people snippets of like what I get to talk about with the people that I think are really creative and doing really cool things, right? So
totally.
You have so many things that have inspired me over the years since I've known you.
You too. Seriously,
and I think it's just cool for people to get a different take on things or whatever, maybe learn a little something or go after something they might not have otherwise or whatever it is, it's like,
totally.
I think that's really cool.
I mean, you posted a video recently that was you going into a space, taking a little like Tascam field recorder, whatever you were using, recording just like dry samples of sounds that the space was just like sort of creating by itself. Sticks and stones and like railings and high frequency sounds and low frequency sounds. And then you danced to the music that you made. And you don't even know this until right now, but Slater and I went to this space by his house in Sherman Oaks, recorded a bunch of samples. I'm like halfway done with the song and I'm going to do the same thing.
Hey.
Yeah, and I want you to like, I was going to talk to you about maybe like naming what that process is called. And maybe it's a series and maybe anytime someone does it, they can refer to it as this series or tag something like hashtag so that they're all sort of, because I can think of like 3 other people that would be really good at that.
Do you have any name ideas?
Let's see. Well, okay. So I have like a big note. Let me give my list.
Yes. I've been trying to think of names for it and I was going to call it Score It, but then I was already doing a little series called Loop It. And I was like, is it like
I
Bop
like
It?
Score It, but I wanted to, Slater and I were brainstorming. I told him about this idea and he's really excited. He's going to film it. He's going to make it sort of cinematic in the sense yours was a little bit it was self-filmed, so it was kind of vlog style.
Yeah.
But Slater has been getting into directing and filming with Tim, and he's gotten really good at it. He's super solid. He's amazing. And he has sort of like his own vision for it too. So we're going to sort of combine concepts. We like sampled stuff from his car too. So we sampled like the whole journey from the car to the hike. So we got like blinker, we got engine revving, got the AC going on, which was nice because the AC was this gradual crescendo. And so if you just put like a saturator on it and like a chorus, it gets super full and it can sort of act as like the crowd noise. You know how you always, sometimes I like to put a track of background noise in my music, and then I can sort of like side chain compress it so it kind of pulses. Like that K Tronada trip, he 100%. Usually like does it to the kick or like a ghost kick. So there's that body. So I use that for the basis of it, and then I use my walks on the gravel as the initial percussion or like the click,
Wow.
And it's hard because I'm trying to make the song with just the sounds, but I'm adding stuff because it's just not as full from just the stuff. I couldn't really find that much of a variety. But that being said, anyway, I digress. The song, the series name, I had like soundscape. Wait, let me go to my actual list because I was trying to combine movement with music and sort of like a soundscape or like stepscape or like here, I'm actually gonna go to my computer because that's where the list is. I've been checking my phone.
Your own beat.
The beat of your own drum, sweetie.
Dance to the music that you made to where you found samples of random stuff and then you made it.
Hashtag blessed. Let's see. Slater. Oh, I put in my thing Slater sound because I'm doing the video with Slater, and it was just a nice reminder for me.
She's talking about Slater Codish.
Slater Codish on the track.
Yeah.
He's actually a great DJ too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't find this stupid list, but I don't. I'll have to text you if I think of any names, but we do need to think of a name.
I think that's a great. I love that you went out and just created something. That's
I was
dope.
gonna just like send it to you one day and be like, look, I did it too, as a surprise, which I think you would have been delighted by, but I was like, I gotta say it because it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited. Well, also something that was instrumental for like me coming into my own was you used to do this thing called Freestyle Friday.
Yeah.
And I watched them right when we met because you had just posted one, and then I went to the tag and I watched a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So then I wanted to have my own version of that, but my strength lies in like preconceived choreography, or at least it did, and as opposed to freestyle. So I wanted to do something that held me accountable, that was on like a monthly or a weekly basis, gave me an excuse for a platform that I could just create, no money involved, just like get my friends together and make stuff up. So I created Wild Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have had the idea if I didn't see your Freestyle Fridays. And I've done 25 of them, and I'm posting the 26th on Wednesday that I am actually doing that Dance On funded, which is so sick because it started as an out-of-pocket expense, and it's actually ended up being like a lucrative endeavor. So funny. Yeah, you inspire me so much. It's so funny.
It's really cool to see you create stuff like that, and I love that it's becoming lucrative. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy, but it's
but even if it's paying for itself, it's like
right.
You're there. You know,
4 months ago, I decided for a number of reasons. One, I was getting flagged. I didn't have access to whitelist some of the music that I was making, so it became increasingly difficult to release. And two, I was running out of money to pay videographers, because I paid everybody that was involved.
Yeah.
Well, some dancers worked for me for free because I was like, I'm not making any money. This is just for our Instagrams. You could use it too. But I decided to only create content to like unreleased songs and release it as with the label for like cross promo. So I've done probably like 10 sponsored ones, and I did one with the label Moving Castle, which is a really dope independent music label run by my friend Brett Blackman. Shout out Brett Blackman. Dim Mock, which is Steve Aoki's label.
Yeah, that's fly.
Mix Mag, which is a really dope like world DJ magazine that also has a blog and a label and a podcast. That my friend Val is involved in. And I did one for I Heart Comics, which is a cool collective. So yeah, I mean, I just sort of reached out or waited for them to reach out and be like, hey, do you want to do a video with this label? Well, this is the budget.
Yeah.
So that's been cool. Doing one with Casablanca Records, which is really cool. So yeah, that's just been really helpful actually they give me the music, or they give me like a option. They're like, hey, these are the next 10 releases. Which song speaks to you?
Yeah.
Pick a song, pitch them a concept, and then go from there.
Is that something that you're going mostly through people that you already know, or is it like you would shoot them an email and say, hey, this is kind of what I've been doing. Do you have anything that you would want to send me? Like, how is that process? It's
been mostly through people that I know, but when I say people that I know, P.S. check out the sunset right now if you can.
Hey.
It's nice. You can see the sunset through the window.
Yeah.
I don't have like a nice view or anything. It's second
nice,
story, but it's good enough.
A little Silver Lake pad.
Yeah, Silver Lake pad. It's from people that I know, but it's even just from people that I've met briefly on one occasion at a set, at a show, and I mentioned that I'm a choreographer as well, and then we start that relationship. But there's also a network that I'm a part of, that I'm really lucky to be a part of, called Nap Girls, which is like a female empowerment music industry group, application-based group. Exactly. He just did the nap, the little take a nap.
I fell asleep
visual.
on my hands.
Which is actually like our like little tag that when we take pictures. But yeah, so Nap Girls has been a really great resource. So there's like a group that we're all in on the internet, and people post job opportunities. And there's a separate group that we have just to share our stuff. So people that have clients, they'll share their releases, or if you're an artist, you'll share your release. So I started posting my videos there, just being like, hey guys, this is my new joint. Check it out. So people from there's like 200 of us all across the world. And I found that a lot of my opportunities have come from their friends. So they, I guess they've heard that someone needed a choreographer. So they've been like, there's a person in Nap Girls that does this. Here's her email. So I would say about like at least 20% of my work has come from that group. I never could have imagined it would be such a crazy resource.
It's so cool to see what you're doing in zones that might normally be, mostly controlled by men, like in like choreography and things like that. Totally. And there are a lot of incredible women choreographers, but it's still like, it's amazing to see things like Nap Girls happen where it's like just a bunch of really dope creators and whatnot. And for you to be in the sort of, power roles that you're already in and doing them in your own way. And I really enjoy working for women and with women because I feel like they oftentimes bring this side that you don't necessarily get when you're working with other men.
Totally.
And obviously it's so, depends on the situation and the person, and every situation's so different, but it's I just want to say it's so cool to see. You never have given a fuck since I've met you, like literally since, and that's why when we met, I was just like, oh, let's throw a show. Let's do this because you have that fire to go create anything regardless of whatever the situation is and you just go and do it,
Thank you.
Really cool to see.
It's so nice to hear that because we spend a lot of time in our heads criticizing ourselves, and I'm never really resentful for the opportunities that I'm given or for the work that I'm working on, but I see a lot of inspiring things around me, and I see a lot of work that I believe, is has like surpassed what I'm doing. No comparison. I just see a lot of work that I respect and that I aspire to achieve. So that can kind of rain on your confidence because you're like, I'm choreographing this music video, and this choreographer that has like 20 views on YouTube who is sick and, doing something I've never seen before doesn't get this opportunity.
Right.
There's this feeling of like, am I good? Then you just go down the rabbit hole of like, am I good enough? Are the dancers that I'm hiring too good for what I'm doing? I feel that way all the time. And when I'm collabing with a producer too in the studio, they know more about music than I do per se. Like let's say I'm in a situation where I'm working with a producer and they're using all these tips and tricks that I've never known, or they're exercising their knowledge and theory,
right.
if I don't necessarily level up to that, it can just be soul crushing and paralyzing to work with people that are like, that you really respect and admire to the point where you just feel like you don't deserve that stuff. So I think having the attitude of just like not giving a fuck and kind of just doing it anyway is the only thing you can do to keep growing. 100%. And then you'll turn around 2 years later and be like, oh, I'm not as bad as I was before. So yeah, I mean, there's always constant insecurities, especially on big jobs. You would think it's the opposite. But having a big job, getting a really cool opportunity and just being like, is my work deserving of this? Is a question that I ask myself every day. But I'm constantly trying to like sort of repress my self too, or ego too. I forget what it is. The one that's bad, the one that shuts you down, because it's a stifling thing.
Yeah, it can be paralyzing.
Oh yeah.
The thing that I think found for me, because I feel that a lot too, especially when you do gigs and there's just so much talent.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel so excited about that, and other times you feel like, holy crap. Like,
but you would never know who's experiencing that. Like, right. I would never know that a peer of mine who's, teaching like a sold out thousands of people across in Peru, would never think that he or she would have like a confidence issue, and then you hear them open up and you're like, wow, this is universal.
Right.
Like even Madonna, I'm sure, has some confidence issues. And I think it ebbs and flows. There'll be months where I'm like fucking, feel like I'm on top of the world, and there'll be months where I'm just like, should I quit?
I think it just depends on my menstrual cycle mostly.
Exactly. Oh, wow, it's really pink now. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, it's like, awesome.
This is a really nice sunset. This is a good one. Whew.
The other thing I wanted to make sure you talked about, because when you told me about this, I was cracked up, is the PENNYPAD.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few reasons why you're actually kind of involved, and not necessarily from the inside out, but sort of from the outside in. So you met a guy, Kobe.
Yeah.
I think maybe the same day I met him. I think you met him a couple months after me.
Mm-hmm.
But I met him at the venue where we threw our first event at Montserrat downtown. I met him because I was DJing right after him. I was playing right after him, and he was finger drumming live. So I was blown away, got his info. We started immediately talking about ways we could collaborate, working on music. He taught me a lot. I would just like shadow him in the studio a lot of the time. And I then came to him a few months later with this product design idea, which is called the PENNYPAD. And I'm just, sorry, I got sidetracked, but I'm looking on that poster and it says Kyle Robinson, and I'm laughing because that's such it's a funny common thread between us.
Yeah.
Because Mason was on tour with Shaping Sound.
Yeah.
And Kyle and I were on tour with West Side Story. And he used to wear sunglasses when we do bar to warm up. And everyone was like, that guy's a fucking weirdo. but also everyone was like, I want to be him. So that's funny. Anyway, sidetrack. But I spoke to Kobe about wanting to create the world's first MIDI controller for dancers. And he first was skeptical because he was like, you're talking at me for hours. You already have the idea. You have the concept. You don't need me. And I was like, no, I do need you. Like, you're going to be my engineer because I don't know how to create. I don't know how to I don't know how to manipulate the sensors that are in the pad that I'll speak on in a bit, and convert that to MIDI, to a MIDI signal so that we can map drum racks to it, whatever. So anyway, I just explained that I needed him. And he was like, all right. So then what ended up being a bunch of Sunday afternoons of research and guess and check, stop and go. And finally, we created the world's first ever MIDI controller designed for dancers by dancers. And so basically, it's a feet-powered MIDI controller similar to a pedal, that you would use, or a looper that you would use for vocals or for a guitar or for whatever it may be, a synth. But you can trigger the samples in real time using your feet. So it warrants for movement and choreography. So a lot of the stuff that works is like some house movement and footwork, and even some like b-girling and b-boying too, because when you're on there, your hands can trigger sounds. But basically what you do, or what we did, was we bought an adapter from Hong Kong that was shipped here from the DDR dance pad to the USB. And then we opened up a audio programming software called Max MSP and created a formula or a tree in there that converted the GameCube or the Nintendo Wii signal into a MIDI signal, so that we could map and stack drum racks in Ableton using the looper object in Ableton to build a completed beat, a fleshed out beat. So for example, you put the click track on, set your BPM, every 8 bars, it would switch from percussion or like just a kick and snare combo to then the synth, to the lead, to the vocal chop. And then you could even map effects on there too to come in. So we right now just wrapped a documentary with Dance On for the PENNYPAD to introduce it to the world. And from there, I will be sending that video to a bunch of hardware companies. Got my eye on Native Instruments, DJ Tech Tools, a few others. High reaches, but definitely the right move.
Yeah.
And I'll be sending them that documentary so they can see it fleshed out and they can see it functioning. And then what I want from them is an official partnership to fund making a bunch of beta versions of the completely Penny designed controller. Because right now we've got a prototype, but it's not catered to what exactly I want. I want a modulator that you can slide. I want it to be LED controlled. I want it to be velocity controlled. I want a tempo adjustment. I want like a display screen. So there's a lot of things that the DDR dance pad lacks that can't give me the tools that I want to make a complete like fleshed out beat and perform it live. But we've got the premise really strong. We've got it to work foolproof as long as we have Max MSP and a laptop and the pad, the adapter. But so my dream is to sort of manufacture like 100 of them and give them to my friends and sell them to like some peeps. Yeah, you're getting number 2.
I want one.
And then, sort of perform with it as often as I can. I would love to like sort of word off the DJ set and word on to the PENNYPAD set where I could hire like 3 dancers and they each have their own, and so they contribute to the layering. So baby steps, but I think we round up the year, like the biggest accomplishment for 2017 for me was getting this thing off the ground, because I've been talking about it for like 2 years.
I had no idea, and when you told me about that at your party that you threw that night,
right.
I just cracked up. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, okay. I was like, wow.
We had this conversation, mind you, like while it was like Wildebeest's crew was like teching their show, and I was like watching these like crazy like children, you know, like just go off, and I was like, yeah, I'm making the PENNYPAD. He was like, what?
I really think that like the applications for the PENNYPAD are going to be so cool, and I cannot wait to see how that moves forward, because I think it's going to be this really cool things happening where it's going to teach dancers more about making music if they didn't already, right? Like it's kind of going to bridge that gap, and then also the other way around, right? I mean,
well, that's what I said to them when we were doing an interview portion, and I said, so, you know, for me, it was so much more accessible to write on the pad. So I was writing the music for the demo that we needed to like turn into dance songs so they could approve it so it could like be part of the video. Kobe and I are like sitting in a studio, and I'm like, all right, how about this for the lead? Do 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 do. And he's like, well, I don't know. It kind of seems like it's stagnant. You're only using 4 tones, 4 pitches. I'm like, yeah, because there's only 4 pads. And he's like, oh, so it's been fascinating to write, because he is more accessible with his MIDI fighter or with his machine or with his MIDI keyboard, and I haven't been making music for years.
Yeah.
So it was more accessible for me to like do a shuffle step on the controller and see what that sounded like, and then, you know, do like a jack and be like, oh, that sounds like a cool thing, and then writing it on the pad versus writing it on your keyboard. So I think dancers will be able to, I think we're going to get this wave of music that we maybe never would have gotten before from these incredible dancers that have this accessibility to their feet. But I mean, here's the bottom line, is that dance has been a reactive force for years and years and years. We've been making music, and then it's been breeding movement, life-changing movement. But I want dance to be the generative force. So I'm making dance, and that's creating the music. And I'm not the first person to do this. Imogen Heap has her Mimu gloves, which filter sound and manipulate sound when you move your fingers. And so that was tight. She kind of broke through. But I was like taking it further, and I'm like, well, there hasn't been one for dancers. And I've been putting everything else on hold. You know, I had this EP that I was going to drop in January. I'm going to drop it in March, because I want this pad to come to fruition as fast as possible. And I want to scrap the EP and make an EP just on the pad. You know, but
keep following this. This is so cool. It's really, really dope. And obviously it's something that no one's done before. And I think you're really onto something, and it's so exciting to watch it keep growing. And it seems like you've got, you know, the fire to make it something, you know, really amazing. So I'm so excited.
Thanks. I can't wait for you to mess around on it.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, you saw my living room. I have 3 DDR dance pads. People are always like, why? I literally have a TV and a couch in my living room and those 3 pads. People are like, why these? Why now? 2017. But yeah, when we get it, next time we get a chance, I'll just like get it started for you, because I have everything I need right here. But like I said, I really want to design it from the ground up.
Yeah.
I just need people with the monies to do that.
And the technical expertise to, like, you know, create that, you know, the next prototype of the product and the next one, you know, whatever it takes.
Totally. And that's why I'm so glad I had my friend Kobe helping me with it, because he really broke through the engineering side of it.
Right.
You know, he like is a whiz in that way.
We'll drop links to everything we've been talking about and in all the descriptions and whatnot, so you can see Kobe do his thing. And,
yes.
So many cool people that we've been talking about. So we'll put all that there so you can go and check them out if you want to too. Ska.
Yes. I love it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been such a pleasure, and
likewise.
Let's do it again down the road, because I'm excited about everything.
Oh my gosh. And if you are listening and you're an artist who has some stuff to talk about in a refreshing manner, hit up Mason.
Yeah.
This podcast is about to take off.
Please, yeah, please. I would love to. I would love. There's so many people I'd love to talk to, and I've just been starting with my close friends and the people that I feel like are doing cool stuff. But yeah, absolutely. Send me everything. Send me any of your thoughts about the podcast or anything we've been making.
And P.S. Quick plug.
Yeah,
Listen to Liftoff,
Ayo.
Mason's debut EP.
Yeah,
It's your debut EP, right?
Yeah, it's debut.
So make sure you check that out.
Yeah, Liftoff. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere like that on my website. Yeah, but where can people find all of your stuff, that when they want to go check that out?
Yeah, every social media platform for me is at PENNYWILD Music, Penny with a Y and Wild with an I. And I always sort of post links to other things like from my Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and then I'm just PENNYWILD on Facebook. And what else do I have? Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, just PENNYWILD all across the board. And then if you want to watch some like concept dance videos, you could search the hashtag PENNYWILD Wednesdays. And you can, while you're there, you can check out the hashtag Freestyle Friday and check out some of Mason's stuff. It's really cool locations and stuff. But yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for having me, Mason.
Penny, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Woo! Skid it.
Bye.
This love